Perfekt, sådär. Då fortsätter vi den här bolagsdagen här på Erik Penser Bank. Näst på tur är Iconovo och vi har nöjet att ha med oss bolagets nya VD Johan Wäborg. Varsågod.
Tack så mycket. And I'm actually going to do this in English, so I'll switch now. So, hello everyone. My name is Johan Wäborg and I'm the new CEO of Iconovo since April this year. I come from some commercial jobs at mid-sized pharma companies, and I take a lot of commercial experience with me into Iconovo in a time where we have a really solid base to stand on, and we need to grow and accelerate and become really commercial experts as well. We are a small company today. We are 22 employees based in Lund, in Medicon Village, and we aim to be around 25 employees towards the end of this year. We're noted at Nasdaq First North and have a current market cap at around 500 million SEK. So this is what we do. We deliver complete inhalation products that can help companies to shorten the time to market. And this is our 4 inhalation platforms. We have Ico Cap, we have Ico Res, we have Ico One and Ico Pre. And I will go through them with you and some of the business that we already have with those platforms. But first, I would like us to take a look at the market where we are in. So we are currently in the market of asthma and COPD. That's where we have the current deals. And many of you who are watching this, I'm sure you yourself or someone you know have asthma or even COPD. It's quite common sickness, actually. There are 590 million people in the world living with asthma or COPD. And this represents a market that is huge. It's a partly genericized market, which means that it's actually up for grabs, partly. And what is a bit peculiar about this market is that a little less than half is concentrated to only 5 inhalation devices. And Iconovo has platforms that can be used in at least 4 out of these 5 inhalation platforms. So you can ask yourselves, why aren't there more companies or inhalation devices here? Or why is there still so much value in this market despite it being partly genericized? And the answer is actually that it is very complex to develop an inhaled pharmaceutical product, especially a dry powder inhaled pharmaceutical product. So the pharmaceutical drug is actually defined as the powder and the device together, and those two has to work in perfect harmonization. They have to be perfectly together. And for companies to get into this, it will take a long time. They face the development for years, both the inhalation device and the powder. This will come at a rather high cost and a high risk for the company. We at Iconovo, we know inhalation. We're deeply rooted in inhalation. And the company was formed in 2013 based on making inhalation devices. So the device itself is one pillar in the core model of Iconovo. Then we have a second pillar that is the teams that make the powder. So the perfect formulations for the inhalers. And then we have the third team of the core business model, which is the analytic department, the chemists who can constantly control and make sure that exactly the right dose ends up at exactly the right place in the lungs for the patient. So instead of having this long time, high cost, high risk scenario, the companies can contact us and we will make sure that they have a much shorter development time and they can face lower risk and lower cost for the development. So we at Iconovo, we develop complete inhalation pharmaceutical products and we make a full technology transfer to the customer. But thereafter, it's the customer that makes the clinical trials and they produce and market the drugs. So our business model is to sell an exclusive license, but not exclusive per se, it's exclusive for a combination out of these three. It's a combination out of a platform, drug, and territory. So for each of our 4 platforms, the customer can have the drug of their choice and launch that in a territory of their choice. At the same time, then, if a second customer comes and says they want to launch this inhaler but with another drug, we can make a new contract with them and sell the product again. And the same, of course, with the territory. If this happens that a third customer comes and wants to launch it in Asia or US, we can make a new deal for that as well. So the offer becomes very scalable this way. Developing pharma products takes a long time, of course, but developing generic pharmaceutical products takes a little bit less time, at least. And the way we do it, we can optimize further and make it take even less time. So we have an integrated model where we develop the inhaler platform and the formulation in parallel. Sometimes we also develop the formulation beforehand for interesting substances and inhalation devices. And once we make the technology transfer to the customer, the blue part here represent what the customer does. They make the final pharmacokinetic trials, they make the registration, and then finally they also market and launch the product. And it's from that launch where we receive the revenue in form of royalty. So we receive royalties, and that is the key thing with our business model. And in the meantime, we will of course have some milestone payments, but the big revenues are definitely in the later part. It's a scalable model, but it also has a limited resource need. So we want to have several projects stacked up at the same time. And as soon as we finish a project, we can move the teams over to the next project and keep the same number of people in the company. And once we finish the project, it will take a period of time, and then we can have our royalties from the revenues of sales. And the idea is then that we stack these royalties on top of each other as well. And have a good mix of projects, territories, pharmaceutical ingredients, platforms, and so on. That's all part of the idea. So the complete revenue model looks like this. We are currently quite young company. We are not profitable yet, so we are before this sweet spot. But it works like this: that when we sign a deal, we take a technology access fee, and then we work together with the customer on the project and receive milestone payments as we go along the development process. And then finally, we receive the royalty on product sales. And in the end, once we receive royalties from many of our projects, this will become a very profitable business model. And if you compare our business to companies that have maybe 1 or 2 clinical stage novel products in pharma, where unfortunately the chance of them reaching market is quite low, 10% approximately, the risk or the possibility for the probability for a generic substance to reach market is much higher, above 65%. And with the integrated model that Iconovo has, it will be even higher than that. And the whole point for a customer to contact Iconovo is, of course, to get access to our expertise and our integrated business. And we can help these companies to save approximately 3 to 4 years in their development. So now back to the platforms and some of the business we have already got on these platforms. IcoCap, a capsule inhaler. IcoRes, a reservoir inhaler. Ico One is a one-time inhaler. And Ico Pre is a pre-metered inhaler. And they are all proprietary platforms developed by us with unique technology that will not infringe any patents out there in the other original products. And this is key for us to make sure that we get the trust of the customers and we get the deals that we want. And this is our 4 current royalty agreements. We just made, just before the summer, we signed a license agreement with BNC Korea. It's a 20-year royalty agreement for the Asian market. It's part of the Asian market, but it's a big part. 2.7 billion inhabitants in that region. And it's for generic versions of the COPD drugs, Altibro and Seebri. And it's to be used in IcoCap. Then below we have the license agreement with Stevanato Group. Stevanato has the rights to sell IcoCap all across the globe. The IcoCap inhaler was CE marked in June 20, and it's now ready to be purchased from Stevanato off the shelf. And of course, BNC Korea is using that platform. Then we have our 2 IcoRes deals. One is with Amneal. It's a US-based company. It's a 20-year royalty agreement as well. It's for the European market, so it's Symbicort in the IcoRes inhaler in Europe. And Amneal is a really good, strong partner with own production facilities. Intas is an Indian company. We have a 20-year royalty agreement with them as well. It's also development for the European market in IcoRes, and the drug is currently not disclosed. So now I would like to say some words about our platforms and some of the points that are important to note about those. So we do not only copy inhalers, we do real innovation and real design around these inhalation devices to make them well differentiated as well. And this is one example of the IcoRes having an exact dose counter. So you can see if you have 93 doses left or 3, which is of course very important for the patient. Whereas in the Turbohaler, in the originals and some of the others, you cannot see exactly how much you have left. If you have 3 doses left, it will be red and you don't know exactly when it's going to be empty. So you probably throw it away earlier than you need to. And also, there is a window in the inhalation device which will give you an indication when you have successfully made your inhalation. Good to know as a patient so that you could be 100% sure that you got your dose. And then we also prepared some space in the inhaler to make it compatible with mobile health or digital technology. So if the customer wishes, we can develop it with mobile technology, with app connectivity, and basically the sky is the limit here, as you know. The example deal here is the deal with Amneal for the European market. And then we're looking, if we look at the global market, it's still a huge market. It's genericized. It's $3 billion globally. And the European part is a third of that, so $1 billion. And the estimated Amneal sales of Symbicort in this example would be $100 million if we base it on a 10% market share. And the royalty then for Iconovo would be between 5 and 10%, giving us an annual royalty between $5 and $10 million for a 20-year royalty term. Now we switch to the Ico One platform. It's a little bit different one because it's really simple but genius. It's one piece of plastic, so it's made to really be extremely cheap to produce, and you can think of several areas of how to use it. If you, for example, imagine traditional vaccination. There is often some sort of liquid involved, and there are needles. And this liquid you have to transport to the patient with an unbroken cold chain, resulting in this kinds of transportation around the globe, and with the result of a lot of waste and difficulty. And of course, there is also needles and wastage involved in this way of doing vaccination. So it's expensive, you will have a lot of wastage. It's also dangerous. A lot of people around the globe actually get infections through waste, and there is hepatitis and risk of getting HIV spread from this wastage. And it's also difficult. Of course, you have to have at least a nurse to administer your vaccination. If you imagine instead this vaccine going into a powder and into Ico One, you can do this without cold storage. You can just ship it across the globe in hot countries. There would be no hazardous waste, no infection risk, and you can probably do this on your own as well. And the application areas is not only vaccines. It could be used for antibiotics, pain, biomolecules, hormones, really a lot of things. And this is something that we are excited about to look at together with partners in the future. The Ico Pre is our biggest strategic investment ever, and it is an investment in a platform with the eyes clearly set on the US market, but also actually the rest of the world. But with Ico Pre, we will access the US market. And we are developing the inhaler, which will be an inhalation device that will be similar to the Ellipta inhaler from GSK. And we also develop the powder formulation for this inhaler. So it's a 30-dose pre-filled inhaler with 2 cavities per dose, open, inhale, close, just as Ellipta. But it will have unique patented design that will make sure that we're not infringing the Ellipta patents. And by doing so, if you look to the left here, you see the patent expiry dates for the Ellipta portfolio. We are aiming at 2025, because then we have a really big drug going out of patent. And our aim is to partner and make a contract with a customer that we can help get to the market as first or one of the first products in 2025. And the whole Ellipta portfolio has a huge value. GSK themselves forecast 4.5 billion sales in 2023, so in only 3 years. So in summary here, I mean, we are about inhalation experience, and our inhalation experience basically can help companies get to market faster. And early entries for them means higher market share, and we can also have good revenue from that in terms of royalties. And there is a higher chance of success for each Iconovo project because we have this integrated way of handling the development. And finally, there is also a lower risk compared to early stage generic or early stage innovative, like one drug pharma companies, because we have a portfolio of projects now, and we also have a portfolio of inhalation devices. So that's it. I am ready for some questions.
Perfect. Stort tack Johan för den.
Och vi kan ta frågor på svenska, såklart.
På det, härligt. Jag tänkte kolla lite med, det här låter väldigt bra och väldigt intressant, men hur ser konkurrenssituationen ut? Finns det andra bolag där ute som pysslar med liknande?
Det finns ju en del bolag som gör originalläkemedel som kan göra exakt vad vi gör. Men det finns väldigt få företag som gör det vi gör och sen kan sälja det till ett annat farmabolag. Vad vi vet så finns det egentligen en eller två andra som är lika duktiga som vi är på det här.
Så ni är inte helt ensamma? Men det är
vi är inte helt ensamma, men vi har vår nisch. Vi är betydligt mer snabbrörliga och än några av våra konkurrenter.
Men är det någonting som liksom märker ni av det när ni är ute och liksom pitchar för?
Nej. Det finns, det är också så att vår affärsmodell, eftersom vi har det vi säljer är egentligen en exklusiv licens fast för en kombination av de här plattform, API och geografi. Medan en del andra företag som är i vår bransch, de har redan sålt sina egna datorer helt exklusivt till exempel Novartis i något fall och så. Och då har man ingenting kvar att sälja egentligen.
Okay.
Så det ger oss en väldigt stor flexibilitet med vår nuvarande affärsmodell. Där är vi ensamma faktiskt.
Spännande. Om man kikar lite på liksom för er i närtid, alltså när bedömer ni att, för det är väl Amnils-projektet då som beräknas vara klart först eller lanseras först på den europeiska marknaden. Lite liksom tankar kring det. Vad kan ni påverka för att liksom snabba på det och vad ligger i Amnils händer? Lite man kan få en, liksom, lite mer av en förklaring över hur den processen ser ut och när då man kan tänka sig att den här royalty-streamen startar. Det är
lite det tänket som jag har med mig från min kommersiella bakgrund också med automatik. Att när vi släpper projektet till kund så vill ju vi inte bara släppa det och låta allting skötas av kunden, utan vi vill gärna behålla kontakten, se till att vi finns där och snappar upp alla saker som kan fördröja, försena, vara en hjälp och en problemlösare och också sen i själva marknadsförings ögonblicket när de lanserar, så är det också vi som står för väldigt mycket av kunskapen kring vilka differentiering som finns kring produkten. Så vi har tankar på att göra den här fasen mellan att vi egentligen tekniskt släpper projektet till att det lanseras, även den fasen effektiv. Vi har en rekrytering av en alliance manager ute just nu som ett exempel på det här, och vi rekryterar även en projektledare till. Den typen av roller kommer att göra att vi blir mer effektiva och att vi, både kunden och vi i slutändan, kan tjäna mer pengar på det hela genom att lansera snabbare.
Men det är någonting som kommer hjälpa befintliga projekt, eller blir det mer för nya projekt då, att ni kan erbjuda en högre service och på så sätt få en högre royalty-intäkt?
Definitivt. Existerande projekt kommer bli hjälpt också. Man hela tiden har en tajt dialog, det känns naturligt. Man kan också få tillfällen till merförsäljning som man inte har om man har ett annat fokus. Så att det gäller att ligga nära kunden där och vara en riktigt bra partner.
Och sen när vi hoppar tillbaka till den här Ico One som du berörde i din presentation där. Visst har ni ett samarbete med ett universitet i Kanada om tuberkulos?
Det har vi.
Kan du berätta lite om det projektet och vad syftet bakom det är?
Jag kan berätta lite om det. Det är ett 3-årigt projekt med McMaster University. Det är ett projekt som är sponsrat av den kanadensiska staten. Och vi är just nu mitt uppe i det här, så jag kan inte kommentera så mycket. Men när vi får nästa rapport så ska jag med glädje rapportera ifrån det. Men det är på ett tuberkulosvaccin då såklart, och avsikten är att titta på hur man kan få till en kommersialisering av en produkt och utvärdera det, om det fungerar. Har
ni fler potentiella kunder inom det området på gång, eller är det mer
Vi har jättemycket intressanta diskussioner om Ico One, det har vi. Men inget mer som
jag förstår. Det är spännande. Härligt, det var de frågor jag hade. Stort tack Johan att du tog dig hit, och stort tack att ni har tittat.
Tack så mycket.